Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we're back on with the abandoned ZX project. Now, I've not done anything since the previous video on this, apart from I have downloaded and printed out the full schematic diagram for the ZX, so if we need it we can refer to that. But what I thought I'd do first, like I said in the last video, I am kind of convinced it's most likely going to be the ULA that's bad in this thing, unfortunately. So we need to be able to test it, basically. So what I'm going to do is, like I said in the previous video, I'm going to take the ULA and the ROM off this board, put some sockets in, and then we're going to dig my other ZD out, the one that's built into the actual case. Like I said, I've already socketed all the ICs on that ZX81, so it's no matter just to pop the ULA out of that, pop this one in there, see if it fires up. If it does, we've ruled that out as a problem. Like I say, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the issue. We've got a brand new Z80 CPU in there, so I don't think that's going to be a problem, but we can even test that while we're at it, just to make sure, absolutely sure. And again, with the ROM, we can easily test that in the other ZX81 and just basically just rule out all the main parts. To be honest, there's not a huge amount else really it could be. As I said, there's a possibility we could perhaps have a passive that's gone bad, but if we had a passive that's gone bad, would that completely stop everything from working? The only thing that possibly, well, I was thinking could, was the capacitors, which we've already changed. As if you refer back to my previous video, we was only getting about 3.5 volts out of the voltage reg until I changed. I think it was actually probably that one actually that caused the issue, because it's very, very corroded. And as soon as we changed them capacitors, we got our 5 volts nice and steady. But that's basically all we've got at the moment. We've got 5 volts. We've got a clock. Because I believe, at first I thought the ULA actually generated the clock in these, but it's this little circuit here basically that generates the clock, and we have ascertained that we've got a clock going onto the Z80 CPU, but that's it. We've got no other activity at all. Anyway, I'll stop rambling now. I'm going to whip that off the board and whip that off the board and add a couple of sockets. You've already seen me change that in the previous video, so I'm going to try and keep it a little bit shorter than an hour and 20 like the last video on this. So I'll whip them off, we'll get ready, then when we come back I'll pull the other ZX81 out and we can do some testing. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we are back, and as you can see I've got the old other ZX81, or at least one of my other ZX81s out, we can use for some testing. And I have been and I've socketed up where the ULA was there. I've also put, unfortunately I had to use a 28 pin socket because I've just realised I'm completely out of 24 pins. What that does mean actually though is if the ROM's dead, we can probably burn an EEPROM and put an EEPROM in there. Now I think there might be a link wire or something you have to change, but these were actually basically designed that they could have either a 24 or a 28 pin ROM in there. Same with the RAM on here. This is using I think they're 4 bits each RAMs, but you can actually put a single SRAM in there, 24 pin SRAM in there instead of those, which I believe actually gives you 2K on board. So we're pretty happy with that. I've cleaned the back of the board up as well, as you can see. It's not actually looking bad at all, that. Dead easy. These are one of the easiest boards really to work on. They're really thick, chunky board. They're only 2 layer, and they desolder really nicely. If you are pulling traces on a ZX81 board, you're doing something wrong. They are really quite nice, easy boards to work on, these. So we've got that board ready to accept some ICs, and I have got the 2 ICs that we've just taken out. So there's the ULA that we've just taken out, and there's the ROM that we've just taken out. Now I've been through all my stash of components and parts, and now all these here, these are all Sinclair Spectrum ULAs. As you can see, I've got that's actually my full collection of them. I have quite a few, but out of all my ULAs, I've only actually got one I've found ZX ULA, and it's exactly the same one as that one down there. So we have got one we can try. Now what I will say is all these came out of my untested box, so I don't actually know whether that works or not. So if nothing else, we'll actually prove whether we've got a working replacement there. Obviously, then we can also test the one that's down there. If it fires up with that in it, obviously we've got a different issue with the computer. So what we'll do, I've got this already set up and connected up. So if I switch on the screen and switch on the ZX, it does take a little bit of while for this one to actually come up, because this has actually got 32k of memory in it. It's like I said, this is not a bog standard ZX as you can tell, but yes, it does work. Keyboard needs a little bit of work on it, but as you can see, we can actually load a program on it and everything. Right, so I'll switch that off. I'll move the keyboard out of the way. We'll get this round. Now, like I said, this is very, very modified. This this ZX81, as you can probably see straight away. But it shouldn't stop us being able to test that that ULA in here. So we'll do that first. Let's get that. Okay, apologies there. The battery in the camera failed. So hopefully we're recording again. Right, I was just about to take the ULA out of this, so let's do that. Let's get in there and let's just whip this ULA out. Come on. In hindsight, probably not the easiest one to use this, actually, because of the amount of stuff I've got in here, but this is all my other ZDs are buried in the attic, and I don't know if I've got another one actually that I've completely socketed. Anyway, that's the good known ULA out, so I'll put that in this anti-static box there so we can keep it safe, because these things are getting hard to get. And what we will do is we will plug in, in fact I can unplug the keyboard, can't I? That'll make life a lot easier for us. Unplug the keyboard interface, because all we want to see is that the computer actually fires up initially. And let's try the ULA from the abandoned ZX81. So this is the one that I'm suspecting may be faulty. Okay, that's plugged in there now. I'll spin the computer back round. I'll stand it up a bit like that so you can actually see the screen on it. We'll switch on the screen, we'll switch on the ZX. Oh look, no change. Nope. So I think we have our answer. Whatever happened to that poor ZX81? Obviously it killed the ULA and the CPU. There we go, that's out again. So there is unfortunately we do have a bad ULA there. I'll just put that at the back there, and what we'll do now, which one's which? that one there is the good ULA. This one up here is the one that I haven't tested yet. So let's test this ULA. Like I said, this is out of my my parts pile, my unsorted, well, not quite fully sorted yet parts pile. Oops, let's make sure we get that in nice and there we go. Make sure that goes home properly. Right, so that's in there. Let's try that one, because this one is completely unknown. We don't know whether this one works at all. Switch on. Let's see. Are we going to... Yes! Awesome. So we do have a working replacement ULA. Righty ho. What I'll do, I don't want to leave that one in here. I'm going to swap back. I'll put this one out of the way. Okay. While we're in here, shall we try the ROM from the... it'd be silly not to, really, wouldn't it? We'll get this out and then we'll try the ROM from the... put that up there. So we know we have a good replacement ULA for this system. We know we definitely have a bad ULA in the abandoned ZX. Excuse me. I'll pop the ULA that came out of this system back in it. Okay, so that's back in there. Let's just give it a quick test, make sure we're still working. And yes, we are. So we'll pull the ROM out of this computer and we'll test the ROM out of the abandoned ZX in here. It's going to be a little bit tricky because of the RAM data board I've got in here. But we'll think we'll get it out. There we go, that's it. So like I said, it's a little tricky because of where the RAM data board is, but that's the ROM out of this computer. In fact, I'll have to have a hunt through all my ROMs, see if I've got a replacement for that as well, just in case. And we will try... In fact, I was actually planning on changing the ROM in this computer, so we've got a spare ROM there if this one turns out to be no good. Right, okay, there we go. And again, let's switch on. We'll switch on. And it works. So we know that the ROM in that computer is okay. So I'll swap them back. So we know we've got a good ROM. And we know we've now got a working ULA. So apart from the passives, really all that leaves is the there we go, that's out. Ooh, slightly bent a pin then. So we can straighten that. There we go. As I was saying, apart from the passives, the only other thing in there really is the RAM. We'll put them there because we know that they work now. I'll put the original ROM back in here for now. In fact, I've just noticed this board, if I was to take off the RAM daughter board, I have actually fitted the sockets, so we could test them 2 RAM chips in this ZX. Right, that's back in. Let's make sure the RAM board's seated down again because I knocked it loose then. Right, that's in. Let's make sure this computer still works. That's monitor on, that's power on for the computer. And yeah, that's all back up and running. So, let's get this one out of the way. Keyboard. In fact, that might be handy to keep here, mightn't it? Because that means we can test the main board without actually using the keyboard, because obviously our keyboard membrane in our original case is no good. So I will put that to one side for now. We'll get the ZX board out and we'll put the known working ULA in this board. Oh boy, that's a tight socket. That is a very, very, very tight socket. That's good. Right, and we can put the ROM in too. There we go, that's in. So, all being well, we know that we've got a decent voltage coming out of the voltage reg. Put them out of harm's way. So, there shouldn't be that many reasons why this thing isn't going to actually work, unless we've come up with something else spectacularly wrong with it. I'll get the little monitor in. There we go. We need some power for that monitor, which is here. Get that plugged in. And we want some power for the computer, which is that one. Make sure that that's plugged in. And we'll get an aerial lead in. Plug that in there. Right, okay. So we plug that in there. Hopefully we'll get a decent enough contact. Let's see what happens. Everything's in, everything's the right way around. Let's just double check. That way, and that way. That's all correct. Let's put some power into this thing. Let's just get the old multi-tester out as well. Let's check some voltages. Can you see that? There you go. You can see it better like that, can't you? Oops. I'll go onto there as a ground. Let's just measure here. 4.93 volts, so that's right. And let's try turning this and see if we get a picture. Oh, I think we nearly got something then. Now that's better than we were getting before, isn't it? Right, let's have a play with this, see if we can... I think that modulator might be really, really goosed. But if I unplug that from there... So we're getting output from the computer now. It's not right, it's not not quite there, but we are definitely getting an output. Everything's just getting nicely warm. But we're not actually getting... Now, could we have perhaps a RAM fault and it's actually meant to be, or could we have a problem with the modulator, which is much more likely. I wonder if we can get any form of video out of that actually. Let's turn that off and get rid of that. Video output from this little monitor I have here. That's powered up, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to bring this forwards a bit so you can see it. In fact, what I'll do, I'll go back a little bit. We'll go up. We'll unplug that. I'll take that, and I need a couple of leads so I can just bodge this up. Just bear with me a second, I'll see if I can find a couple of leads so we can just do a real quick lash up. Now, we're not going to get a decent image or anything because this needs amplifying, but we should be able to get perhaps a little bit of something on screen, so back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back, and I've just connected up a BNC to a couple of crop clips here so we can see if we get anything out of this. So if I connect that to the can of the modulator, and I basically completely bypass the modulator and I go onto this lead here. Right. Now I'm wondering whether we have also got a RAM fault then. Because if you look here now, let me just unplug the power and it goes off. So we definitely basically got the computer nearly working now. I plug in. You can see all this. I am sure we might have a RAM error. See if there's any difference between the warmth on them ICs. Now, they both seem fairly cool. But we know that the ROM works. We obviously know that the Z80 works, or at least we should. I think the Z80 should work. We could test that, but I'd have to pull the data board out of the my other ZX81 and revert it back to a more basic RAM configuration, because I've actually pulled the address lines directly off the CPU in that. But like I said, we have progress. I'm tempted to see, should I just pop out the two RAM chips there. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got any of them in stock. But what I do have, like I said before, is these Toshiba SRAMs there. Now I think one of them's 1K, sorry 2K, and I think the other one might be like 8K or something like that. Either of them would work. So we could stick one of them in and basically replace those two if those indeed are faulty. In fact, I think that's what we might try next. What we'll do is we'll pop them two RAM chips out. Now, I am struggling for sockets, but yeah, I'll pull them two RAM chips out and we can test them in the other ZX. We'll just have to pull its memory data board out and things like that before we can do that. So I'll get the desoldering station warmed back up and we'll pop those two RAM ICs out. Because, oh, actually thinking about it, have I got kicking about here a 16K RAM expansion? I bet they're all up in the attic. And we've got a load of mess on there we'll have to clean up, because basically when you plug a 16K RAM expansion into a Z, it disables the onboard RAM and just uses the 16K from the RAM expansion. Just bear with us a sec. I'll have a quick look round, see if I can quickly locate a 16K RAM pack. If not, then I'll get the desoldering station all fired up and we can whip them straight out. But if I plug a 16K RAM pack in there and it starts working, we're pretty sure that it's the RAMs that are at fault. So I'll say back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back. Unfortunately, I could not find that 16K RAM pack, but what I did find when I was up there was a load of 24-pin IC sockets, and also a tube full of, these are 2K SRAM chips, and these will replace them two 1K by 4-bit on this board, because actually some ZX81s came with them on. They were sold as 1K, but they were actually 2K machines, and I believe the Timex Sinclair 1000, I think that used the 2K one of these instead of those, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that the Timex came with 2K and used these, and there was a few ZX81s, because I have come across ZX81s before, and I don't think they've been modified, you know, later on, and they had a 2K SRAM like that in them. So anyway, let's get those two RAM ICs out of there, and then we will decide. We'll try testing them in the other ZX. If they don't work, because I have had a quick look and I don't think I've got any more of them, we can try putting one of those in instead. Right, no, so I'll add a little bit of fresh flux as well. There we go. And I have played about with my desoldering station as well, so I'm hoping that this might actually be working a little better than it was before. So let's try and get those two ICs out. That seems to be working a lot better. Back and redo that first one, that one wasn't quite as good. Let's go over and redo a couple of them. Right, let's have a look at that. Get our flat tweezers, and we'll just make sure that those are free. There we go. Flip that board over. That might need a little bit more work, that. Let's just have a quick press around. Just basically just push in like this on all the pins. There's one there stuck. Move over onto this side, just do the same. There's one there that I'm going to redo because that's not quite right, which is that pin there. Let's give that another quick try. There's one next to it as well. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, no, we're on the wrong side then. It should have been that one up there. still looking a little bit blocked. Let's try that now. What's that? That one there. Let's just try that again now. That's better. We'll go for a lift. There we go, that side's come straight up. You see, there we go, and the IC's out. That's the first one out, nice and clean. I won't bore you with me pulling the next one out. We'll come back when I've got that off, and we can actually try them in the other ZX81. So back in a sec. Right, okay. Well, I've extracted the two 2114 RAM ICs there. We've got the other specky out, the other ZE out. So let's try testing these in here. So first thing we need to do is we need to remove that RAM daughter board that I built. So we just unplug that. We can leave that off to one side. I don't think we need to remove it completely. We can just leave it off to one side like that, provided it doesn't short onto anything. And when I actually put this in, I actually put both lots of the sockets in. So we can just load this up with these 2114s. There we go, that's one in. What we'll have to do one little quick modification though. Because of the way I've got this set up, it's got the link 2 position in, which means it's actually set up for a base RAM of 2K, not 1K. So we will have to just get rid of that, or else this won't work. Why are you not going in there? So one of these pins out slightly. So the only problem is sometimes when you've got you've got chips that have come out of a board, especially like this, it's got turn pin sockets in it. It can be a bit tricky to get them to go in. Let's try that now. There we go, that's better. And they're all in. Right, okay, so that's the RAM fitted into this computer. What I am going to have to do is just cut link 2 there, so it thinks it's only got 1K. And it's using these RAMs rather than the single SRAM there. If you put link 1 in position there, it will use that one SRAM, but only as 1K. If you put the link 2 in position, it will use that same SRAM, but it will allow it to use 2K. So we'll just break that. We can easily remake that after. Right, okay, so this is basically now set up as it would be originally as a 1K ZX81. So let's get the power and plug the power in like that. We switch on. Oops, that's the right one. I've pulled up, isn't it? Nope. Could have just caused a little bit of problem there because I've just picked up the wrong end of the power adapter. That was for the monitor, that TV. This is the one that we want for this. Hopefully we've not done any damage. Let's see. Oh, the screen's on. Oh, okay, so that's not the issue, because that RAM works absolutely fine. Yeah, that RAM works absolutely spot on. There's nothing wrong with that. Right, well, that's a bugger. So we know we've got two good 2114s there. me unplug this. We'll get that out of the way for the moment. Now I am going to set it back on, damn. I am actually tempted to put 2K on this board anyway. Only for the simple reason I have got loads and loads and loads of those the 411s. What are they now? Wherever I put them. Sorry, yeah, the 6116s, which are like they're a 2K. These basically. So I may as well put it in for one of those, and we can have a little bit of extra RAM on here, and I can keep them two 2114s for spares because I don't have any in stock at all, and then both of them work. So question is, do I put a 28 pin socket? I might actually even put a 28 pin socket in there. And then if we want to actually upgrade these things to 16K internally, which is something I kind of probably will end up doing if we can get this working, it's already there ready to go. So let me see if I've got another 28 pin socket in here, and then we can get that in there. Oh, those are them 28 pin. No, those are bigger. What's that there? That's a 24, is it? It's 26 pin. In fact, bear with me a second, folks, and I will be right back when I've found a suitable socket to go in there, and we can socket that up. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I've cleaned all the holes out, and I've got us a 28 pin socket here, so we'll get that mounted on the board. It's got a few bent pins. There we go. By the way, a pair of bent, they've got no serrations on the inside and they're bent like that, and they're incredibly useful for straightening the legs on ICs and IC sockets, because you can just get hold of them like that. It's also what I use, to break the solder free when I'm desoldering an IC. Alright, let's try this now. That side's in. There we go, that's in. I'll just hold that in place. I'll just dab. Oh god, I need to get a little bit of soldering on there. There we go. I'll just dab into a couple of pins just to hold it temporary. And then we can go in and just solder them. Just solder two properly to start with. One there. One there like that. And we can just do a quick inspect and make sure it's nice and flat to the board, which it is. And then we can go ahead and we can solder the rest of them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's that side done. There we go. So that's all soldered up, and we've got a socket in there. So like I said, if we want to upgrade this and put 16K on board, it makes it a lot easier to do that. Right. We want to put one of those links in as well. Otherwise it's not going to work with that RAM there. Now the one I've got there is a 2K. So let's put that in the board. Now none of this is going to fix the faults, because we do still have another fault with this computer. It's just I wanted to swap over to a single SRAM IC rather than those two 2114s, because those are more used. Now we know that they work. Those are more used for in my stock in case I need one for another repair on anything. And we know that the ZEs work quite nicely with one of these, because some of them were actually supplied with one. Righty ho, so I'm all happy with that. I just need to put that link in there now. I'll just do a quick temporary for that link. I've got some, in fact this will do nicely. Just form that link. And it's those 2 points there, so we just need to clear the holes out. One, that's two, slip them, but I think I've got it, yeah. That's link 2 opened up, so we'll pop a link wire in there, like that. Push that through like that. And that'll do. Solder that in place. There we go. So now technically that is a 2K ZX81. And what we'll do now, we'll get we can use this monitor rather than mess with the TV for the moment. Let's plug this back up and just make sure we've not made it worse, and then we're going to have a look and see if we can find out why we're not getting an image out of it. So let me grab the not that one, where's the other one? There it is. We want to power the monitor up and just make sure that we're actually getting basically what we was getting before. I'll get you on the I'll get you up on the screen so you can see the screen as well. There we go. Right, and let's put some power into the ZE. Like I said, it's exactly as it was before, so at least it's still working. It proves that that RAM chip we've put in there is working. But we are not getting, like I said, we are not getting video out of it. Now I am wondering whether it could possibly be that modulator is so messed up inside, that's actually causing a lot of the problems. So what I'm going to do, just as a quick test, I'm actually going to cut the video line to that modulator. I mean, we'll be doing a composite mod on this eventually anyway, so it's not a big deal. We'll be cutting this anyway. But we'll cut that wire there, pull that out. And again, we can go to anywhere that's ground for our, in fact, we can go over there for the ground. That's a really good, solid, tight ground. And if we connect to that there, we're getting anything. And it's exactly the same. Right, so basically we now know we've got a fault. So we've ruled out that, we've ruled out the RAM, we've ruled out the ROM, we've ruled out the ULA, well we know the ULA was faulty. I don't think there's any point. In fact, I've got the faulty Z80 here, or at least the one that we think's faulty, the one that was getting red hot. Let's quickly just try that in there. The new one out, and we could even test that in the other ZX81, because with the RAM board removed like it is, it will just take a standard Z80 in there with 1K of memory. Let's plug that in there and let's switch on. That should get red hot, so I'm not going to run it for very long, but just to prove that that is faulty. Yeah, as you can see, completely dead. Nothing there. Unplug that. We'll get that back out. We'll put this one back in. Back in there, and we're back to not quite having a video signal. It's definitely something on the video side which is causing the issue though. No matter where I connect the ground up to, it doesn't make any difference. It's trying to produce a video signal and then basically failing to produce it, which is a really odd situation. I'm wondering, could it be something like one of these ceramic capacitors that's gone bad due to the actual? Won't be that one. I think that C2 there may actually be something to do with the video side of it. What I will have to do is I will go and get the circuit diagram for this, and also get the pin out for the ULA and what have you, and we can dig the old scope out and see what's actually going on. It's nearly there basically, this computer. It is nearly working. There's nothing so there's nothing getting mad hot. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And that's okay. Let's get the voltage regs absolutely fine. So there's so little left on here. What have we got? We've got a few capacitors that potentially could be an issue. I'm wondering about that ceramic there. I'm wondering if that is actually on the video line. That comes to, that's that one. That's that one. That goes straight in. It goes right into the ULA there. So what I might actually do, I'll figure out which pin it is and we'll check it coming straight out of the ULA, I think. Have we just got a corroded? Oh, it's weird, that. It is really weird. Because we know that ULA works. We tried that in the other ZX81 and it works absolutely fine. And these are both the same issues ZX81s. It's exactly the same ULA. Excuse me. But we definitely don't quite have anything yet. Like I said, we are really close to having this working. So I'll go and sort the circuit diagrams out, and we can take it from there, and we can finally see if we can figure out what the final issue is. So I'll say back in a sec. Right, okay. Found something rather interesting now. Basically, oops, let's move them out of the way. I just thought, just before I start digging all the circuit diagrams, because that was just a random CPU and the RAM was random that I pulled out of my spares, I thought I'll just try some different ones. And it hasn't made a difference, but I have noticed something. If you look at this, it will connect back up. Plug in there. Now we've just got a blank screen there, but basically what I found is if I move the board, look, you see. So what I'm going to do now is I move the board around, as like I said, you can see we've got all kinds of things happening. I'm wondering if we've got a bad joint somewhere on that board and that's what's causing the issues. So I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes or so and just basically go over everything. What I've soldered there, which I'm pretty certain is fine, but basically everything else that I can see that's got a solder joint, a through-hole solder joint, I'm just going to go over, touch them all up, and then we'll come back and we'll see if that makes any difference at all. I mean, they don't actually look bad, any of the original solder points. I'm pretty sure mine are all fine, but you never notice that there's that tiny little hairline fracture. It's just interesting how I move the board like that and just manipulating the board changed what was happening on screen. So I'm just gonna, I don't need to show you doing this because everyone's seen it, someone reflow a circuit board. But what we're going to do, we'll start in one corner. We'll start, say, down here, and I'm literally going to every single point, just warm it up and just reflow a little bit of new fresh solder. Now this normally would not be necessary, but what you've got to remember is the condition that this board was in when I found it, and it could have, you know, just caused a tiny little dry joint somewhere, and that could be all that we've got that's causing the problem. Because I mean, if I put the scope on there now, we'd see the clock, you know, we'd see the CPU running, the ROM, and everything running on there. I'm pretty certain of that. We're just not getting it to display correctly. Right, like I said, I'll spend about 20 minutes or so just giving a good reflow on all them points, and then we'll come back and we'll see if that has made any difference. If it's not, I'm probably going to leave it on this video because I don't want this to get too long, and we'll start again next time afresh with the circuit diagrams and we can work on from there. But like I said, first I'm just going to try doing a little bit of a reflow. Right, okay, well, I've spent a good half an hour reflowing the back of that board. Basically I did all the IC sockets I'd already done, and I've been down most of these resistor packs here as well. Basically this is what we're getting. If I plug in now, we are getting a video signal coming out of the ZX now. In fact, let's fire up the oscilloscope. Let me get the scoop probe. Remember when we looked last time, like on the CPU, we basically wasn't getting any activity. So if we go on now, connect on there, and then we go to, well, we should have something on pin 6 because that's the clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's our clock. But if I go on to say one of the address lines now, look. We now actually have, let's do an auto on that. There we go. We've got activity basically on the data and the address lines now, which we did not have. Let's see if we can get that down a little bit so we can see it. Oops. Volts division, that's the one I should be going to. And the other way. But we've definitely got a running CPU there now. We didn't have that yesterday. Well, last time I worked on this computer. Look. So you have a check on address lines and data lines. That's working now. Obviously, like I said, we go over onto the RAM and everything on one of the address lines. That's there, that's working. We didn't have any of this when we was trying it the other day. But all we're getting out of it is a white screen. All I'm thinking of at the moment now is has what I was saying before, has one of these capacitors died due to the damp and everything that this computer was subjected to. I'm going to leave it there for now with this computer because we've already worked on it for quite a bit today. And like I said, what I'll do when we come back to it, we'll dig the circuit diagram out, and what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to go through and test and just check all these passive components, because essentially there's nothing else left. We know that the RAM works, we know the ROM works, we know the Z80 works, and we know that this ULA work. Because we can pull all them off this board, put them on the other ZX81, and it'll fire up and it'll work just fine. So, like I said, that's basically where we're at now. I will put this away for now, and I'll have a think about it, and I'll get all the circuit diagrams out already, and then when we come back to it, like I said, we'll have to check all these resistors, because I mean it could be as simple as we've got a couple of open circuit resistors, but what I'm actually possibly could be something like one of these ceramic caps, or possibly one of the, there's a few little capacitors down there, there's one there, there's one over there, and there's one in that little bit which I think is the timing circuit in there, which are not, oh, and there's another one down there which possibly could be at fault. It could be something to do with one of those. If it's not that, I am really clutching at straws on this thing, because the board doesn't look bad unless we've got a broken trace somewhere where one of these traces has rotted away, which again is going to be a right fun to find, because we're basically going to have to go through and just check continuity on all these, because it could actually be anywhere. But I am determined that we are going to get this ZX81 back up into working order. You see that? I mean, that's nice and fine now. That's just running nice and warm. ROM's virtually cold. RAM's virtually cold. So we know that our ICs are good. Unplug that for now. What I am quite surprised at is how good the video output actually is, because all I've done, I've disconnected the modulator and I'm just connecting to that. That's coming straight off the ULA. We've got no amplification or anything there at all, and we do actually seem to be having a reasonable and at least enough of an image that we can make sure this thing's actually up and running. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. What I would like, if anyone's got any suggestions, something that, you know, if anyone can think something that I've missed and currently screaming at the computer saying, "You stupid idiot, why haven't you tried such a thing?" Can you drop it down in the comments and let me know. Right, so I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this little update on the project, and we are, like I said, we are making progress. At least we've certainly ruled out that we did have a duff ULA. Basically, we've got, these are the two ICs which we know are bad, that have failed in this. So we've got the ULA, unfortunately, which is, it's just a good fortunate that I had one good spare that actually worked. And that Z80 CPU, neither of those are in working order. So yeah, that's basically where we're at the moment. So I'll say I hope you enjoyed that little update on the project, and I'll say thanks for watching and goodbye.